Everybody. Good morning, Grace Center. Love y'all. Y'all been having a good week?
Amen.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Well, for title's sake, the message this morning is After God's Heart. And I know you know it's Father's Day, and we always talk about David being a man after God's own heart. But it's not just a man after God's own heart. It's a man or a woman after God's own heart. So that pronoun that we use, man, is male and female.
Yes.
And we desire to have a heart that's after God. You know, there's a song that was written and published back in 1987 that was called After God's Heart. I just want to read the lyrics to you. It says, I've come through an empty place, through the wilderness of my soul. The selfish life that I once embraced seldom satisfies me anymore. I've been tried, I've been tested. Now I know the only way for me is to follow after God's own heart. After God's own heart, how I long to be what He wants me to be. After God's own heart, no other love means so much to me. So I will follow after God's own heart. I will tell of His faithfulness, how He carried my iniquities. I will sing of His holiness that demands my life of purity. I must obey. I must be broken. If this world is ever going to see, a man after God's own heart. After God's own heart, how I long to be what He wants me to be. After God's own heart, no other love means so much to me. I will follow after God's own heart. There's no shadow of turning as I'm heading straight for Him. Oh, His calling is my yearning. I will follow. I will follow after God's own heart. How I long to be what He wants me to be. After God's own heart. How my soul desires to be after God's own heart. Oh, no other love means so much to me, so I will follow after God's own heart. Yeah, after God's own heart. Listen, really listen. I'm running after God's own heart. Yes, I'm running after God's own heart. Keep on running after God's own heart. I'm pressing on. I'm moving on after God's own heart. Yeah, after God, after Him, I'm running after Him. That song just epitomize what we should be thinking about, and what we should be doing when we're thinking about God's own heart. We're chasing after Him. We're running after Him. You know, I thought about that. Why do these songs say we chasing and we running after God? You know why? Because God ain't going nowhere. He's standing still. We're the ones that's moving. God is everywhere. We're the ones that have to catch up with Him because He has a plan. We don't know what the plan is all the time. Sometimes He reveals it to us. But we're the ones that's constantly running. Okay, God, where we got to catch up? What's next? What are we doing? We always have these plans. We got these plans at home, these calendars. What I'm doing tomorrow. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. But we're always trying our best to catch up with Him. At least that's what we should be doing. How many of you can say that you're running after God's own heart? All right, that's what hands! That's what I'm talking about. We should all have hands up because we should all be running after God's own heart. Excuse me. You know, the song, like I said, it speaks to me because I actually physically grew up with a man after God's own heart. And I married a man with God's own heart. And I pray that my sons will be men after God's own heart. The man who raised me, my grandfather, he was a man who taught me how to care for people, how to love people, how to share with people, and how to give to others first. He taught me how to pray. Taught me how to be still before God and just listen. I've never seen anybody just have a quiet soul and just listen to God like my grandfather did. He taught me how to place my time in God's hands. He taught me how to relax and wait on God. We're always running. Sometimes God's like, chill out. Just slow down a minute. I got something to say to you, but I can't get it to you because you're not listening. He taught me how to see things from the perspective of others, how to feel the hurt and the pain of others, how to care for a village and not just your own. This man was my grandfather, Walter Jackson. He was a very tall man, skilled in hands like David, that was described in 1 Samuel 16. He was skilled in the kitchen because he cooked. He liked to cook, you know. I love a man that could cook. You know, he was a hunter like David. He would go out, we would go fishing. We would go in the woods and we would hunt. We would, hunt deer. He was skilled with an axe. He was a man who used his hands. He taught me how to chop wood. That's a skill that's not used too often anymore. But mostly he was skilled as a listener. He was a man who only opened up his mouth when he had something to really say. So when he opened it up, you really listened, because it's like, what? Ooh, he's about to speak. Like that, remember that old E.F. Hutton? What was it, E.F. Hutton? Mm-hmm. Shh, he's speaking. That's like God. I didn't realize it until I got older that he was so quiet because he was constantly sitting before God and listening and waiting for God to tell him what to do next. Something to really learn from and to glean. He was also skilled in knowing when a person had a need. And he always did his best to help others as he could. He alone was a village caring for people in our zip code. Though taking in the homeless and feeding many just from our front yard, because the front yard was an acre of, he was a farmer, my grandfather was a farmer, so our front yard was an acre of fruits, of mainly vegetables. So there was always something to eat. I'm sure many of you can tell some of your own stories about a man after God's own heart. David, one of the most popular stories in the Bible, is described as a man after God's own heart. Today we're not going to focus so much on David. Instead, we're going to talk about your own heart. Let's turn to our scripture for today. We're going to look at Psalms 15, which describes the character of those who dwell or hang out with God. Excuse me. Actually, I got a couple of different versions. I don't know if they're on the screen or not, but I'm going to read the New King James Version, then I'm going to read the NIV, and then I'm going to read the Living Bible. New King James reads, Lord, who may abide in the tabernacle? Who may dwell in your holy hill? He who walks uprightly and walks righteously, and speaks the truth in his heart. He who does not backbite with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor does he take up a reproach against his friend. In those eyes, a vile person is despised, but he honors those who fear the Lord. He who swears to his own hurt and does not change. He who does not put out his money at usury, nor does he take a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things shall never be moved. That's a lot of meat. Now the NIV version just reads a little bit differently. It says, Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor, and casts no slur on others, who despises a vile person, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts, and does not change their mind, Who lends money to the poor without interest? Who does not accept a bribe against the innocent? Whoever does these things will not be shaken. I got one more version, and this is from the Living Bible. It says, Lord, who may go and find refuge and shelter in your tabernacle up on your holy hill? Anyone who leads a blameless life and is truly sincere. Anyone who refuses to slander others, does not listen to gossip, never harms his neighbor, speaks out against sin, criticizes those committing it, commands the faithful followers of the Lord, keeps a promise even if it ruins him, does not crush his debtors with high interest rates, and refuses to testify against the innocent despite the bribes offered him. Such a man shall stand forever. That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That is so deep. But I wanted to read all three versions because you can hear a little bit more in each, how it's interpreted. Because the word may have been written long ago, and it's still God's word no matter what. But we can hear it different by just choosing different words when we read it. Now we look at the first verse when it talks about a blameless life that's true and sincere. Blameless, we're really just talking about being righteous. Nobody's blameless. We've all fallen short of God's word. We've all sinned. But we can still do our best to live righteously. And that's what we strive for, to be righteous. Because none of us are blameless. And to being righteous, we're talking about having a high moral standard. It's not just, it's when you go into Home Depot, you give them $20, your bill is $19.95, and they give you $5.05 back. It's giving that $5 back. Instead of walking out going, all right, well, your loss, you're going to come up $5 short today. No. Do you really need that $5? You don't, or you wouldn't have spent the $19.95. Get the $5 back. Because at the end of the day, whoever that's working that cash register, they still have to be accountable for that $5 at the end of the day. So why put yourself in a situation, because now you're blocking your blessing. Because you're taking something that God didn't even intend for you to have. Because that might be a test to get to that extra $10,000 a year you're going to get on your promotion. So pass the test. It's not worth it. Keep those high morals and those standards. And it's not that we think so much higher of ourselves than anybody else, but we do need to do better. We all need to do better. And I think anybody who's a human wants to do better. We want to do better. And it's not about getting puffed up or going home and saying, well, they gave me an extra $5, but I gave it back. You don't have to run around and tell everybody what you did. Just do it and know that you did the right thing, and let it be right in your heart, and knowing that you pleased God. Because believe me, it's a test. It's definitely a test. When it says refuse to slander others, my example for that is our current president. I'm guilty. There have been things he said, and I've gone back and I've repeated what he said, and I've gone, oh man, I can't believe this man, blah, 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 blah. I'm wrong. I have to repent of that. I don't know who his God is, and I don't know why he says what he says, but it's my job to pray for him. Not to slander him, not to slander his character, because there were enough people in this country that thought well of him to put him in the White House. Whether that was me or somebody else, it's still not my job to put him down. Because though man may vote, God is still in control. God is still in control. So we still got to support the ones that are in office and that are leading us. Same thing on our job. You may not like your boss, or you may not get along with your boss, or your boss's boss, whoever it is. It's still not our job to slander them. It's our job to go back, sit back, pray for them. Because there have been times when folks have taken the abuse, and if that person has been moved out of the way, And now the one who is a godly one has been placed in that position.
Amen.
But it's our job to pray. Nothing changes without us praying. So next we talked about, it says, he does not listen to gossip. I'm not condemning anybody, but anybody in here watch Wendy Williams. We know that's a gossip show, am I right? She get on there, she like to tell everybody business. And I think on the news the other day, I think she even said, now it's my business that's being told. And she said, I guess turn around is fair game. But that's how she makes her money. But think about the other gossip, the neighborhood gossip, the stuff that doesn't make it to television, the work gossip. I heard such and such and such and such. I know they married, but I saw them out to lunch with them. That's gossip. We don't need to be listening to that mess. One of the reasons I came off of Facebook December 31st as part of my fast for the beginning of the year, and I realized that junk was getting inside of me. Because that's a bunch of gossip. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. There's so much gossip on it. And you're spending so much time. TMZ. You love me some TMZ. But what is it? Gossip. It's talking about other people's business. We can't do nothing with other people. Oh, I'm watching this so I can pray for them. You ain't praying for them. You're going back to work tomorrow, you're going to tell all the stories. Did you hear about the Kardashians? Did you hear about, well, I always got to say, did you hear about the Lakers? Did you hear we got AD? Oh, anyway, my little plug, but we got AD, okay. But that's not gossip, that's fact. But we got to be careful what we're listening to. Because that gets down in our heart, and it gets down in there, and sometimes we don't even know it, but we even listening to the news sometimes. Listening to all that tragedy. And I worked for a newspaper for 11 years. And it was a trade publication, so we didn't really focus on the negative so much as we did on higher education and nonprofits. So it was more on the positive side. But the stuff we see on the news nowadays, you get up in the morning, you turn the news on, you looking for the weather and the traffic, and you hearing who got shot, who got robbed, where the fire was, where the car crash is. It's like, where's the good morning? Hey Lord, where's the happy news we used to have? We got to be careful what we're putting inside of us, because we're listening to some of that stuff, get in the car and head to work, and now we angry and don't know why. Because what we're listening to. We really got to be careful. It says, never harms your neighbor. Your neighbor is the person that sits next to you at work. It's not just the one in your neighborhood. It's them two sitting back there in the sound booth. They're neighbors. They don't want to hurt each other. They like each other. I would even say your neighbor is a relative. It's somebody in your house. Think about the people in our house. Couldn't family members be neighbors? Because we're all in close proximity. A neighbor is somebody that's in close proximity, right? Not all neighbors are blood, but all neighbors we need to be praying for. And we need to be pouring into their lives too. It's not our job to hurt them. I got a neighbor that lives behind me. She may not like me so much, and I may not care for her the most, but doesn't stop me from praying for her. It doesn't matter. It's our job. That's what we're to do. Speaks out against sin. How many of you speak out against sin? Or do y'all sit there and go, grab your little popcorn, this is going to be good. I'm going to watch this. I think we're all guilty of that. You know, you in the store, you see somebody stick something in their pocket. Like, why are they stealing that? Don't even say anything. See a coworker cheating on something. Or how about your taxes? How about your taxes? Something as simple as taxes, because that can be convicting. Some people, I do this right, I do that right, I do this right. But still, there's so many little things that are sin. You know? Don't forget gluttony. Eating too much, back away from the table. That's sin too. And sometimes, I think my husband has to call me on that one. It's like, we bought that dozen of donuts. Didn't you eat about 4 of them today? That's like, yeah, maybe that is a sin. Maybe I shouldn't eat 4 or 5 ice cream sandwiches in one day. Yeah, maybe that's a little sin. But call each other out. Because how are we going to change if we're not holding each other accountable? You know, we got to do that. Criticizing those that are sinning. Now we're not criticizing the person. We're criticizing the sin itself. It's about accountability. It's about holding each other accountable. It's about doing the right thing. It's about, going to the gas station. If you pumped regular, but you paid for regular, but the pump gave you premium. Woo, yay, I'm glad I got that. I haven't seen it happen before, but it might. But still, just the little things. We need to be calling those things out. Comments on faithful followers of the Lord. When you see somebody doing something right, encourage them. Especially little ones. You see a small child, and you see that they're doing something right because they naturally bent towards doing something wrong, praise them. But don't just praise them when they're small, praise them when they get bigger too. Because we praise them when they're down here, and they get older and older, and they're still looking for that praise. They're still looking for that praise. But we're not always praising them. Praise them when they're in elementary. Praise them when they graduate from high school. Celebrate them. Celebrate. That is an accomplishment because everybody doesn't get there. Mm-hmm. Some fall away. Some have to leave because of family issues, because somebody is ill and they got to go to work. Mm-hmm. Everybody doesn't get the chance. So celebrate the accomplishments along the way. When you see somebody doing right, praise them. On the job, when you know somebody used to do something wrong and now they've turned around and they're doing it right, praise them for it. Hey, I saw you used to do such and such. I see you picked up, you're doing better. Praise them. That's what makes people grow. That environment of praise is what makes people grow. That environment of praise is what gives God the unction to listen to us. Because when we're praising, he goes, hey, that's my daughter. That's my son over there. Wait a minute. Did they need something? Did they have a prayer not answered? Let me go help them. They're calling out to me. Praise. You got to get that praise.
Amen.
What about those? When you give a promise, the Bible also says it's better not to promise than it is to promise and break it. Just don't promise. Just tell somebody, I'll do my best. I'll try my best. But if you do promise, keep your promise. And that means if you keep your promise, remember, it's written and you're going to be held accountable for it. Everything we do, God holds us accountable for it. So it's better not to promise. It's better to say, let me see what I can do. What about debtors? Somebody lends you some money. Any of y'all watch Judge Judy? It seems like Judge Judy and who are the other judges? Judge Alex not on anymore. He's doing something else. We got Judge Mathis, Judge Judy.
Joe Brown.
Isn't it Joe Brown?
Yeah.
He's not on anymore, but his reruns are on. What are they mainly going to court for? Somebody, well, y'all, they ain't had no credit, so I got them a cell phone, and now they won't pay the bill. It's always, I'm doing something to help somebody else. And now you got to take them to court because they're not giving you your money back. That's what court does. They settle those differences for it. Be it a verbal contract or written contract, it doesn't matter. But if somebody comes to you or you see that somebody needs something, instead of saying, well, now you got to pay me back, don't give it unless you can afford not to have them be holding to you. Just, I'd rather give you something and not worry about whether or not you're going to pay me back. And if you do pay me back, then, hey, I'll take it. But if not, I know you need it. And believe me, we have all given to somebody. We have all given to somebody. And when we give, we're sowing a seed. It's not just given to that individual person. My son was down at the train station this week. Left his wallet at home and needed $2 to get to where he was going. And he called me. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, I can't give you $2. I'm not here. He said, I'm going to stand here and pray and figure it out. He said, the security guard came out of MARTA and said, you got to leave. He said, look, I lost my MARTA card. I just need $2 to get another card. He said, this guy over here gave me 50 cents. Somebody gave me a quarter. I need $1.25. That's all I'm saying. He said, I got a job. The security guard said, here, take the $1.25. Go on in and get your card and go home. But he stopped. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to figure it out. And he asked. But we would do the same thing. Wouldn't you give somebody $2? Because $2 is not going to hurt you. But think about it. What we've sown into other people, at some point, my son is going to have an opportunity to give that back. But what he doesn't realize is when he did that, I thought about the times when he stopped when people have been on the side of the road and helped them with their vehicles. He's allowed people who are homeless to live in his home with him. I thought about those other things. He had already sown seeds. So that $2 was due to come back to him. But we don't think about that all the time. But those are things that we still need to be doing. Is when we put it out there, it's going to come back. So as we read in the Message Bible, it also says that God invites us to have time with him. But in order to have time with him and to even have a meal with God, we have to have a certain type of character. You're not going to just invite anybody to your house to eat. You know, you want to know a certain person before you bring them in your house to eat. Now, there's some people you may give them $10 and say, hey, go get some food, but I don't want you in your house. But God's house is a little different. He expects something for you in order for him to invite you in for dinner. How do we get on God's guest list for dinner? We need to walk straight, act right, and tell the truth. Don't hurt your friends or your neighbors. Don't blame them. Do despise the despicable, though. Keep your word even if it will cost you. Make an honest living. Never take a bribe. You'll never get blacklisted if you live that way. I believe my grandfather, Walter Jackson, was this kind of man, and he walked straight. He acted right. He told the truth. He didn't go around hurting his friends. He didn't blame his neighbors, and he despised the despicable. He kept his word, and he saw at times that it did cost him. He made an honest living off the farming, and he never took a bribe or charged others when he gave money. He freely gave it away as a gift. He fed people no matter who they were. When they looked like, he didn't matter how they looked, how they treated him, there was always a seat at the table in our home. I enjoyed many meals at my grandfather's house. But oh, how I want to be invited to dinner with God. That's where I want to sit. I want to be sitting at the table with my Lord and Savior. How many of you want to be sitting there at that table with him? Yes. What a glorious day that would be to be able to just sit and bask in awe in his presence. No words to speak, just to gaze in awe of his glory. Now I know it's Father's Day, but the greatest Father of all is our Heavenly Father.
Amen.
So as you leave this place today, to take your dad out to get that steak dinner, don't forget to invite the number one dad, our Father God, to the table.
Amen.
For those of you that don't know him today, this is your chance to get to know him up close and personal. For those of you who have not spent much time with him lately, today's a day for you to get reconnected. For those of you who need a word from him today, now's the time to come down to the altar and spend a little time with him.